HTML tutorial as my folder, and I have the index.html file here. So, and I already talked about this, that we have the style.css, the script.js. Now the .html are the extensions. The .css is an extension and the JS is an extension for the HTML, and some for CSS and some for JavaScript. Then here we have the, talked about that when I was in the intro of this app. We have the readme.md, right? So this one serves another purpose too, and it actually is as a guide to help developers in case they have so many write-ups. You can just like copy this, you can copy it, then go to our index with documents, then be able to paste it there. Alright, so if you now check here, we're able to see it highly. Okay, so let's exit. Now I see we'll be talking about, damn it, so we're talking about the HTML boilerplate, the DOCTYPE declaration, and HTML head, title, and body tags, right? So now let's start by talking about what this boilerplate is. Now, the HTML boilerplate, like I said, it was written like this, but in all these apps, like all these code editors app on phones, they don't actually sync with it because it's an app. It's not on desktop like VS Code or PyCharm or Shazam. Those are other this in code editor IDE, like an integrated development environment, whereby it allows developers to write codes there. So, well, explaining this in case it comes to when you're using VS Code on system. Now, this boilerplate is the basic standard structure of an HTML document, and it provides essential elements required for a web page to work correctly in all browsers, and serves as a starting point for any HTML file. Like this one we're using now is a HTML file. So I will just do something quickly like this. Just doc type. It's supposed to bring up something. And one other thing I didn't mention is I can just remove this. One other thing I didn't mention was that this right here is the HTML5. Before that, we had several HTML versions, and this is the latest and the most used one which we have. Yeah, there were something like the HTML 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so this is my DOCTYPE HTML. If it was something that back then, like say 1, 2, 3, or I got this version, we have to write the DOCTYPE HTML 4 or 3 or 2, but in this version is a 5.0, so we just write the DOCTYPE HTML. In the future, like HTML6, I don't know how it's going to be like, but for this one we are just going to be using it. And this was created by Tim Berners-Lee. Right, he is a founder of HTML and all that. So I'll be explaining the elements here, and I'll also explain this DOCTYPE HTML. Now, this DOCTYPE HTML actually declares the document as HTML5, like I already said, and it ensures that the browser uses its standard mode and not any other mode, but the HTML5 mode. Now here we have the lang n. It's not really lang n. This en you're seeing here is the English. You have FR for French. You have GB for that is UK. You know, UK and Nigeria share at the same time, and all that. So actually, this is actually the root element of the HTML document. And now the lang n, that is en in English, actually helps for accessibility and SEO. SEO stands for search engine optimization, and that comes in hand when you have a website and the user searches something on a Google, like let's say Google. So when the user searches it, your page or your website comes in handy. Like the user don't have to stress himself or herself to look for a specific thing. Yeah, and it's actually good. You know, accessibility, SEO are also one of the most foundations in web development because you actually need that, especially screen readers, those who are blind, those who do not have accessibility through devices. Though it has made it easier that we can be able to make websites that the blind could even see and be traumatized and will be shocked through that. Now we have the head. I already talked about. I said I'll talk about the head, the meta. This is also meta tags. So the head, you can see that the meta tag and the title tag are all nested in the head elements or head tag. But this head tag actually contains the metadata, data about the page, and not actually visible in a web page. Like this now, all these things which we've written, if you check here, we will not see it. It's just a blank page, right? So let's go back. Now we have the um, meta chasset UTF. It's I can't really remember what this UTF stands for, but actually what this meta this piece of code is trying to talk about is that it actually specifies character encoding, just like how we have encoders and decoders, and it allows proper display of special characters and emoji. Then this one is the meta name viewport and content with device with initial scale 1.0. Now this particular one is very important. In fact, you have to add it even though it's not a website that is not serious, like it's a common website. You actually need to add it because it's very important when it comes to CSS responsive designs. As at that time when I was starting, it felt very difficult when you want to create a website and make it responsive because you have to add so many elements, so many things, right, sent by the designer. And when you're viewing it in a desktop, sorry, a mobile, you're gonna feel like you have horizontal scrollings. Horizontal scrolling is like something at the bottom, you see a line there, right? So just like you zooming through a page, which why you want to read something, this is the horizontal scrolling. These are called horizontal scrollers, right? So this field line, the meta name viewport, actually this means that it controls the layout of mobile devices and also ensures that we get a perfect responsive design. Though we make use of the Mac suite, right? Major queries need to make responsive design. Though there are other frameworks, CSS frameworks which you can use like Bootstrap, Tailwind, or Material UI, or Shard UI, CTM. Those are other frameworks which makes our website responsive. Then this one is also part of this. Now, talking about the title tag at the seventh line, the title tag sets the page title that will be shown in the browser tab. Now, take for example, I try to say something like my first time writing HTML. So this is it here. Now you go to your live view and you check here, you don't see anything here, but instead if you check this up part, right, you see first time writing HTML. So basically anytime you write that text there, it just shows as what is going to be shown in your tab, your browser tab. It doesn't show have to do with anything in your in this particular type, which is like this white page here, right? Then we have the body. Now the body actually serves as the wrapper, like actually everything, like let's say contains all your visible content Like yes, it can be your text, can be your images, your videos, your links, and every other thing. Now, the reason why I would say, actually, if you're using this boilerplate, I want to tell you something about it. Like I've already said something about accessibility. And now I can give you like three things on why it's very important. It actually improves accessibility and SEO, which I already says, and it ensures mobile compatibility. And this fifth line here is actually what ensures that. Then it also improves rendering. Right, so this width device width is actually for rendering. Then this initial scale is the touch zooming. If you put that 1.0, it's fine, but putting something like 1.1, 1.2 could cause problems in your page and all that. So quickly, let's talk about this part again. I want to talk about that doctype HTML properly. Though I will try it again. Um, Now, coming back to this is the doctype HTML. Like this is feels commented, like we don't still see it in our browser. So now, this doctype HTML is a line placed at the very top of the HTML document. As you can see, actually is the first thing. So what this does is that it tells a web browser which version of the HTML page is being written on. Like this is a HTML5 and we don't have to write something like HTML4 in other browsers, like I've said. So one more important thing is that it ensures the browser renders the page correctly and consistently. Now, let's say for instance now you don't actually use the doctype HTML, you just continue writing your HTML and other tags like that without introducing or writing the doctype HTML, is that the browser may switch to Quex mode, which mimics old inconsistent browser behavior, meaning that it won't take it as something which has its structure, images, or any other pattern. So with a proper doctype declaration like how we have it here and HTML5, it will follow some standard mode following the modern HTML rules and all that. And it also improves cross-browser consistency. Like in modern browsers like let's say Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge, it actually makes your page look good in all these browsers. And one more thing is that it defines the document type. Like this now, it's a HTML5, which simplifies and mainly acts as the standard mode switch. So now, the next we have is I think I said okay, the HTML boilerplate doctype declaration, and let's see. Okay, we're talking about this now. So we've already looked into that. So you're going to be writing that again about the doctype declaration and some of the tags used there. So we'll just do some little things after that. So we start with our doctype declaration. That's it. Doctype HTML. And there we have the HTML. And we can just directly go here. Let's just do it this way. HTML. Okay, fine. Then the lang and Then so here you have the head, or just go directly right in here. Now in the head we have the title. I don't think I've talked about this element. So sorry, the HTML tag, right? Just think of it as the container for the whole page, like everything on the page, like that lives inside. So it's just like it tells the browser that, oh, this is an HTML page. Then we have the head tag. Now, for me, I would say this head tag is like the page's brain. So it holds information about the page, not what users see, just like things like the title, rules, and instruction for the browser. But on important note, this head tag actually contains metadata about the document, such as character encoding. I talked about that, styles, scripts, and other information not displayed on the web page. Something like writing external CSS, like a link tag. I talked about link tag. It doesn't have a closing tag. Then script tag, which is for JavaScript. The link tag is for um, CSS. Then the script tags for JavaScript. Then the next is the title, right? What this actually, this title is an attribute. I'll talk about that. The title here, not title here. Let's just write a title of ourselves. Okay. Now the title, you can see learning HTML. We go to our web page, you'll see learning HTML. You can even change it to something like let's say learning CSS and JavaScript. If you go to our web page, you'll see it. That is the function of the title tag there. Then now one thing is that I was saying that the meta tags too is also nested in the head tag or the head element. So I'll just write a few of them. So we have a meta what's it name? Okay, touch assets. Touch assets UTF 8. Okay, I think this should be it. And this one doesn't have a closing tag too. The next one is the meta name. Reports. Okay, reports. We have the content. This should content. Okay, content. I think this should be width, device. Wait, sorry about this. I'm not actually writing this, but I'm just going to write this down so you can be able to write it on your own too as well. The initial scale, this will be 1.0. I was saying that you should not put that 1.1 or 1. Just leave that 1.0 and this it. So now we have that the title and the meta elements are being nested in our head element. So the next one, I think there's an issue here. Okay, we didn't close it. Okay, it's okay now. You can see the indentation there. So the next one is the body. Now this body is actually like the face of the web page. So everything the user sees and interacts goes in here: the text, images, the button, the video, and all that. So I'll just explain it again. I'll just say something like, let's say it contains all the visible elements or the visible contents of the web page. Then we can now decide to write our divs, like the div block level or the span as the I think the inline element there. So this is basically all you need to know in writing your like structuring your HTML, like the first one, before we start looking at headings and paragraphs, anchor elements, hypertext reference, and all that. But let me just do something easy here. Let's say I have to use the headings like the H1, which is the main heading, right? But before that, I have to put it in a div. I will explain this. Let me just write this down. Let's say it has a class of my container, and here I have to use the H1. So I use a class. I don't let me not use a class. Let me use a style. That class, if I'm using a class, I have to use external CSS, which I will link it in my head element. So I'm going to use style, and this style here is the inline styles. They call them inline styles. We have three things: inline styles, internal CSS, and external CSS. Let me not go through all that. Let me just focus on this part. So let me use the inline style. So I'll write the style. Oh, this feeling. Doesn't have a present tag. So write the style. Okay, pick that one. So style, we have color. The color actually changes the color of the text. Let's see, HTML is a markup language. The markup language. So style, you can change the color. Now this now, if you go, you will see okay, HTML is a markup language. There's something you also need to know in CSS. We have something called box model. In the areas of box model, we have margin, padding, and all that. Here, there's a padding at the top and bottom. There's also a margin, and here, this is margin bottom. You can see this is space between these words. HTML is a markup. Then down here, language, and it's big because you're using H1. H1, it's the main heading, so it actually has its own font size in pixels. So we can actually change the color of how it should look like. Let's say we want something like blue, so we use color, blue. So if we go there, inside the color has been changed to blue. Let's say we want to put a border at this side, like a border. We can use border of 1 pixels. You can use any pixel you want, but 1 pixel is actually recommended. Then we have solid. There is solid, right? There's also dotted. There's also dashed. You can use any of them, but let's use the solid. Then you not put the black or red or blue, any color you want. Let's put red. I have it here. This is the border, and you notice that in this border it doesn't have a spacing, so you can add the padding. Padding of 10 pixels. So this padding will be for the top, right, the bottom, and the left. Then you see they're no more joined together. So that will be all before we talk about headings, paragraph, and other topics too as well. Thank you for watching.